right, let's move over to pass catchers here, and we start with A.J. Brown, who over the past 4 weeks, the Rams are allowing the 5th most points per game to wide receivers, Matthew. We've discussed this, and I'm sure we'll get even more into it tomorrow. The point total for this game is going to be sky high by the time it closes.
Yeah, I would agree with you. You mentioned over the last 4 weeks about how the Rams give up all these points to fantasy wide receivers. They're tied for the most touchdowns allowed to wide receivers over the last month. Look, when A.J. Brown is healthy, all the healthy games, he's gotten 40% of the team's end zone targets. Like, he's playing a team that gives up a lot of touchdowns, and he gets a lot of looks in the end zone. He's my wide receiver 5 this week. A.J. Brown, wheels up.
Jay, I have the stat of the day for you on Mike Evans.
Producer Damien
Mike
loves
Evans,
this.
yeah, producer Damien absolutely cooked with this. It's almost hard to believe. So Mike Evans is making his return against the New York Football Giants, who are allowing an absurd 77% catch rate on passes of 20-plus air yards this season.
Which is...
Like, think about how deep that throw is, 20-plus air yards, and 77% of them are being completed against the Giants' defense.
It's unbelievable. For context there, Jared Goff and Tua Tagovailoa, they lead the NFL in completion percentage in general at 73%. So basically, you're the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, full stop, when you throw it 20 yards down the field against the Giants. I believe second in the NFL there is allowing 55%.
That's right, yes.
So
the gap is astronomical.
It's insane that they're that bad. I don't understand. I get that it's bad with the Giants secondary, and Deontay Banks hasn't exactly been peak Darrelle Revis as a shadow corner.
Right. Robert Saleh to the Giants, who says no?
Robert Saleh.
The Giants fans?
Yeah, I think everybody. Everybody goes, you know what? We're all good here. I think we're good. Pull Larry David.
Just saying they need to improve the defense. He needs a gig.
He's in Green Bay, probably pretty happy.
Something to think
when
about.
you put your hands up, I thought you were going to do your cornerback impression.
I
got really excited to return that.
Here's
Manuel Forbes impression.
No, this is my Deontay Banks impression.
Wow.
Yeah, he's checking his checks. He's checking his text during the game. You see, that's what that was.
There we go.
One of the great mime artists of our time, Matthew Berry.
There you go.
Oh, what can't he do?
Yes, master thespian. Yes, you're welcome.
The Webby will be ours.
God bless.
Anyway, Mike Evans is a must-start.
Yeah, you're insane if you're not starting Mike Evans. He's wide receiver 9. Ladd McConkey, next up on our list here. He's a top 15 play, Matthew. He's got a team-high 24% target share this season from Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and wide receivers that have seen above a 20% target share against the Ravens this season, averaging over 24 points per game. As good as the Ravens are against the run, we've talked about this all season, they're that bad against the pass. Again, 11 wide receivers have seen more than a 20% target share. We talked about McConkey getting that 24% target share. Like, there's only 2 guys of those 11 that saw a 20% or more target share against the Ravens. Only of those 11, the only guys that didn't score at least 16.5 fantasy points, Noah Brown and Mac Hollins. McConkey is going to eat this week. He's my wide receiver 13.
Hunter Henry, our tight end on the list here, 12-plus fantasy points in 4 of Drake May's 5 full games this season. Hunter Henry has real estate, Jay, on waiver wires and the love list.
It's the Hunter Henry hour.
It really
the Hunter
is.
Henry happy hour.
Yeah, we can't
Quadruple
talk.
H.
We can't talk about Hunter Henry enough.
Look, what more is there to say about Hunter Henry? He's getting a ton of targets from Drake May.
He's got 2 first names,
He's
which
got
is always
2
a
first
crowd
names.
pleaser.
Yeah, that's
People
great.
do like that.
Alliteration.
Yeah, sure.
Love alliteration as well. It kind of cheapens it a little bit, but still alliteration is there. And look, Drake May, I think, has lifted the ceiling of this offense, certainly from a fantasy perspective, and Hunter Henry is frequently his number 1 option. So I think Hunter Henry, he is the definitional kind of tight end 8 to 12-ish. Every single week it seems he's in that range.
Yeah, I like him a little bit more this week. I'm at tight end 7 just because it's a nice matchup against the Dolphins. Miami, over the last 4 weeks, giving up over 20 fantasy points per game to tight ends. That's 5th most in the NFL. You mentioned sort of his floor there. All of Drake May's 5 full games that he's played this year, Hunter Henry has a 21% target share. So he seems to often look for Hunter Henry. He's even gotten Austin Hooper involved, and so it just feels like Drake May is really comfortable in the middle of the field. You think about the production of Demario Davis as well for the Patriots. So good matchup for Hunter Henry against the Dolphins. He's a top 7 tight end for me this week.
Some others receiving votes, Jawan Jennings, who we discussed pretty in-depth yesterday, just the kind of run he's been on, and Marvin Harrison Jr. They both are top 20 plays. Jameson Williams and Josh Downs are both top 30 plays. And then we get into the deeper hits here, Matthew, Rome Odunze, Adam Thielen making his expected return. Will Dissly coming off a great week in the tight end landscape. And Theo Johnson, who, if you're really, really desperate at tight end, maybe him and Tommy DeVito will have something working.
Buccaneers allow the 4th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends over the last 4 weeks in terms of Theo Johnson. And it's a nice matchup against Baltimore for Will Dissly as long as we're talking about tight ends, right? Ravens bottom 5 in receptions and most yards allowed to opposing tight ends this season.
Just kind of on Juwan Jennings. So Juwan Jennings is 5th in the entire NFL in PFF grade among receivers. He has elite separation grades. Is there a chance that Juwan Jennings is just an elite wide receiver 1 and the gap in talent between him and Brandon Ayuk actually isn't that significant?
I believe so. I think so. He was a good prospect. He was just a guy that was a little bit older. He had a little bit more of a windy road to being a wide receiver prospect. And he's in Kyle Shanahan's offense, which is a great place to develop for wide receivers. I'm in on Juwan Jennings being long-term successful.
I completely agree. I wonder if the 49ers sort of regret the big deal they gave to Ayuk.
But they'll move on from Debo in the offseason, and Jennings will still be impactful next year.
It's a good point. By the way, we always talk about this. It makes sense. I mean, we always talk about this. Targets are earned. And in the two games since Juwan Jennings came back to the 49ers, he's got a 35% target share. Now, again, Kittle was out last week. I get it, and Ayuk's been missing both those games, but still, a 35% target share. And I feel like we've talked about him ad nauseum, but like when Juwan Jennings has gotten an opportunity, he produces.
Yeah. As someone who needed the Niners to win that game, was watching every second of it, it was stunning how absent Deebo Samuel was from the offense, and the fact that Brock Purdy, it seemed like every single third down, every single time he needed someone to get open, he was looking for Juwan Jennings constantly. It seems they have a really strong rapport. I think that's what made Ayuk so special with Purdy, is they seem to have that telepathic rapport, and Purdy seems to have the same thing with Jennings.
Well, you have to remember what Jennings, too, is. This is somebody that when he got to Tennessee, he was a 4-star recruit at quarterback. So if you're looking around going age 20, he was kind of an age 25 to 27 breakout. Why? Yeah. Well, he changed positions at college in Tennessee, and he did it at a high level. Yeah. So it's not like a weird thing where it's like, why is this guy good at 27 all the time, all of a sudden? He's just a great athlete, and he settled into wide receiver really nicely.
That much is very, very clear. Very quickly, also just want to mention a couple guys that were on the list in the same game. The over-under in the Colts-Lions game is 50.5. I mean, game's in Indy, but it's 50.5, so we expect a lot of scoring. I had both Jameson Williams and Josh Downs on the others receiving votes list as well. Williams is wide receiver 28, Downs is 30 for me. Jameson Williams, since returning from suspension, 20% target share. Colts give up the 5th most yards per game on deep passes. Obviously, they're going to take some shots to Williams. And then no team in the NFL gives up more receptions and yards to the slot than the Detroit Lions. So Josh Downs, who continued his production even with Anthony Richardson under center last week, should keep it going as well against the Lions. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.